Basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Good afternoon, Iona College. Antonio Coppola, Matthew Brownstein here with you on this Thursday afternoon. As usual, Matt, a lot to talk about. Before we get into the baseball, because this is going to be a baseball show, I just have to say that the Masters tournament has started today, and I am so excited because I'm a huge golf fan. This is the day of the year for all golf fans, the most prestigious tournament in the world, and Tiger Woods is playing. So, I'm excited. I don't think he's going to win. I'll be happy to see him make the cut, to be honest, because, he's struggled so much in recent years. But it's going to be good to see him get out there. But enough with the golf. We got to go right into the baseball because the Mets and the Yankees, their seasons have started. They're both 1-1. Give me your thoughts so far.
Well, today's Harvey Day. The Dark Knight finally rises again. He hasn't pitched since August of 2013. He is back. He is going to be on probably around a 95 to 100 pitch count today. But I'm excited. He's facing against Steven Strasburg in Washington. This is a big day for any Met fan. Obviously, people have been waiting, a year and a half now for Harvey to return, and he looked dominant in spring training, Antonio. I mean, the guy walked one batter in a little over 22 innings. His fastball looked crisp. He was, hitting in the upper 90s. His breaking stuff was looking really, really, really sharp. So I'm anticipating a big day from Harvey. It's all going to be based on the bats, though. Last night it was a tough loss for the Mets. Obviously, they lost 2-1. DeGrom pitched a great game, besides giving up that home run to Brian Zimmerman in the first inning. But other than that, it was a great game. It really kept him in the game. Pitched 6 solid innings. Jordan Zimmerman, just was dominant. And the Mets really haven't been hitting. They did win the firll game, and I'll eat some crow. I was last week talking about how Bartolo Colon should not be the opening day starter, but he just proved me wrong. He pitched one heck of a game, really dominant against a good Nationals lineup, and DeGrom came out and pitched a great game too. But the Mets offense really has been silent so far. Minus Travis d'Arnaud. D'Arnaud started off really, really well. He had a big triple in the first game. Had another base hit last night. Has 2 RBIs already. So he was one of my main guys that I wanted to see out of the gate really start off fresh. So I'm happy to see him getting going. But I'm a little puzzled by the lineup. There was a whole lineup. I don't know if you heard about it. The whole lineup craze and who's making the lineup for the Mets right now. There's been some speculation that it might be the front office. Sandy Alderson might be in Terry Collins' ear, which is not anything really new. Billy Beane used to do that with Art Howe back in the Oakland Athletic days. But Lagares isn't leading off, and he was leading off most of spring training. He's down the bottom of the order. You have Granderson leading off instead. You have Wright batting second. It's a little different lineup than we're used to, and I anticipated changing a couple times because I think that obviously the Mets aren't scoring, so they need to change something about it. And especially if Harvey's going to have games this year where he's going to lose 1-0 or get a lot of no decisions, it's just going to be another lost season. So the Mets really need to figure out this lineup fast.
Well, I turned the game on yesterday, Matt, and it's funny. I basically turned it on at the turning point. Lucas Duda's up, Wright's on first, and Kazir's on deck, and the Mets are down 2-1 in the 8th inning. So I'm like, okay, this is a big moment. This is the game right here. Sure enough, another unlucky, I guess, event occurs in the Mets' early season. Duda hits a liner right to the pitcher, and Wright gets doubled up at first. And I was just thinking, Met fans are gonna start to get on the team. But I don't think that this is a microcosm of last year, where they had phenomenal pitching and a lack of offense. I really just think they got a little bit unlucky yesterday. Like you said, DeGrom pitched a great game. But the Mets are going to have to hit. I think Wright looks a lot better than, I guess, healthier than he did last year.
Right.
It's really way too early to tell. But I think overall, if the Mets, they've showed they've got the pitching, and it's just been 2 games. And even Bartolo Colon, like you said, he was great in pitching in that first game. Today you got Matt Harvey going up against Strasburg for the Nationals. That's going to be another great game. I know he's going to be filled with a lot of emotion. It's going to be a big day for him and all Met fans. But I just think that if the Mets are able to hit, they don't need to score 8-9 runs every game. They just need to maybe get to the 5-6 run mark, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, timely hitting absolutely is key for the Mets because we know they're not a juggernaut of a lineup. So they're gonna have to really move guys over, work the count, get guys on base, and just have timely hitting. They don't need to have a powerful lineup. You don't need that anymore in Major League Baseball. Obviously, with the steroid testing, that's limited a lot of guys in terms of the power numbers. So. The Mets just have to be balanced, and they have to have better years. Obviously, out of d'Arnaud, you have to see progression from Lagares. You want to see hopefully a 25 to 30 home run season out of Granderson, a healthy year, full year for Wright. And then hopefully Duda, is progressing and it gives you another 30 home run year like he did last year. Then the Mets have something, because they do have some young kids in the minor leagues that will be knocking on the door pretty soon, especially in the outfield. You have guys like Michael Conforto and Brandon Nimmo. So the Mets do have some players on the horizon. But also, the Mets took a blow as well. And the first day, Henry Mejia was up, warming up in the bullpen in the 8th inning, and then you don't see him coming in, and people are wondering what's going on. They show a shot of him walking back into the trainer's room, and now he's out, probably for about 2 or 3 weeks. Precautionary, obviously, because you don't want to take a chance with this guy early on. And now it's going to be basically bullpen by committee. You have Jerry Blevins, who's going to be your lefty guy. Sean Gilmartin, you're going to use Carlos Torres as, a long relief pitcher. But you're going to get a lot of chances for Familia. And another big thing last night I took away was Rafael Montero. 2 scoreless innings, faced 8 guys, looked really dominant. He had his fastball go up in the, mid upper 90s. And he's going to play a big part in this, too. So it's, right now there is really no closer because Parnell's working his way back. Mejia is now on the shelf, so this is going to be a big opportunity for a lot of the young guys to step up and see what they got.
When I saw that they were flying Mejia back to New York for an MRI, I literally, what did you think? Right away they said elbow inflammation. They're flying him back to New York for an MRI.
Tommy
I was just
John.
like, here we go again. Here we go again. Because it's weird. It's like it's been more than ever now in recent years. The Tommy John injury is becoming more and more common, but it's scary. It really is. And speaking of Tommy John, Tanaka in his first game switching over to the Yankees now, that was probably the worst possible thing in terms of giving the fans an impression because we talked about it over and over. He didn't elect to have the surgery, and he rehabbed, and now he's pitching with that small tear in the UCL. And he goes out there, and he has an awful inning, and he picks up his first loss. But I don't think that he needs to compromise because you see it maybe in his fastball a little bit. He's not the same dominant guy as last year, but maybe he's nervous. I'm not sure. I hope he's not compromising himself because he doesn't want to go all out. But I just think that was probably the worst possible thing that could have happened to Tanaka because now everyone's talking about it. He's got everyone worried. Now he's got he's going to have a lot of pressure on him Sunday night. He's going to be pitching against the Red Sox, the national spotlight on Sunday Night Baseball. He's got to show up. He's got to show up. He doesn't have a choice because if he doesn't show up on Sunday, people are going to be panicking.
If his fastball is going to be sitting in the 88 to 92 mile per hour range, it really affects his off-speed stuff, and it really affects his slider and a curve, especially because when he was throwing 94, 95, and then having that devastating splitter and slider and curveball, that really sets up the fastball a lot better. Now, when you're pitching that, in the upper 80s, low 90s, it makes everything else look hittable, and you're going to wait on that fastball now because, any good major league hitter can hit an 89, 90 mile per hour fastball. And the book is out on Tanaka too. Listen, he pitched, almost a full year last year. Obviously, he missed some time, with the injury, but teams are going to start, recognizing what he's pitching, and they're going to start doing, more scouting on him. And you're right. Listen, he didn't have the surgery last year, which I think was a mistake. We talked about that in nauseum during the offseason. I think
Right.
He really should have. It would have been beneficial for the Yankees because they signed him to that big deal. They have him for, 6 more seasons after this. So, he's still a young kid. He's learning the league. The league is still learning him. But, you're right. It really wasn't a good showing, obviously, for the first game. You don't want to start off. You never want to lose the first game of the season, never, especially in your own ballpark. It gives you a bad taste in your mouth. All the Yankee fans were, panicking, worrying. I was thinking about you the other day when all the fans were kind of in uproars and everything. But they got lucky last night. They should have lost that game. They were losing 3-1 in the 8th inning, and then there was a lot of just weird. It was a weird inning last night. There was a lot of miscues in the infield with the second baseman not getting to that ball in the outfield off of Chris Young.
I remember because I saw the highlights. I was too busy watching the Mets, because I just find the Mets to be so much more of an eye-catching, entertaining story here at the beginning of the season. But no, like you said, a lot of stuff was going on. I remember seeing Chase Headley hit a ball up the middle that I guess bounced off the mound and caromed off.
Yeah, it went off Brett Cecil's glove, and then that became a base hit because Reyes couldn't get to it. It had a weird hop, and then that scored a run there, and then they took the lead from there. There was 2 hit batsmen in the inning, Gardner and McCann.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of luck. It really wasn't like they were mashing the ball. So no one's really been hitting very well for the Yankees so far. It's just been they got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, the first game of the season, I remember it was a weird game because, like I said, Tanaka had that one bad inning, and then Didi Gregorius makes an awful, boneheaded mistake, trying to steal third base with
2 outs.
With 2 outs,
Never make
Teixeira's up, and you're down by 4 runs. You can't make the last out of an inning at third base. That's just irresponsible. And I know Joe Girardi, got on him a little bit in the dugout, but I mean, he said it was a learning experience for Gregorius. How long has he been playing baseball? His entire life. I don't know how you can be making that kind of mistake. I think that's just a case of a guy trying to do too much. And, maybe he is feeling a little bit of pressure, filling those ginormous shoes of Derek Jeter, which, no one can be expected to do. He's just got to come in and play his game. He can't, be worrying about the fans and the outside and what people think and how he's performing. He's just got to be himself, play his game, and I think he'll be fine.
You gotta wonder though, how much better would this Yankees lineup look if they had kept Cano? Let's say you just signed Drew to play short. You have Drew at short and you have Cano at second.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a terrific up up the middle infield right there, and with that's a big bat you're missing in the lineup with Cano. Because I know a lot, there's some Yankee fans that were mixed on Cano. He was lackadaisical. I think he just made it look easy. I don't think he was lackadaisical. I think he just was a good, solid second baseman. He just kind of floated to the ball almost, and glided there. It was kind of like Beltran in the outfield. Beltran always looked so effortless getting to the ball, but that's just how his style of play was. But I mean, man, could they use another big bat in that lineup? Because they look old. They really do, and a lot is going to be riding on Beltran's health, Teixeira's health, McCann's health, Ellsbury's health, and then you have the what if with Gregorius, because remember, Gregorius played half the year last year in AAA. He was so bad in Arizona that they sent him down to Reno to try to get his confidence back up. So it remains to be seen if Gregorius is even going to be the shortstop going forward. We might see Drew shift back to short, and maybe you bring up one of the young kids like Ref Snyder or Pirello when he gets healthy to play second. It's definitely possible, especially if the Yankees get to May, June, and they're a couple games under 500. The Yankees are gonna, the Yankee fans are gonna be clamoring for some kind of offense any way they can get it, whether it's from a young kid or not.
They haven't gotten anything from Beltran, and I know we talked about this last show. They got him for the postseason because how dominant he's been in the past in his career in the postseason. He hasn't had a hit yet, along with Gregorius. You're right. They do look a bit old. And it all goes back to this whole injury thing. If they can stay healthy, I think the bats will come around. But yeah, it's got to worry you. You mentioned Cano. If they would have kept Cano, I think this is a whole different team. And I mean, Ellsbury's, he's showing like he's got a little bit more pop in his bat, I guess. I hope he can stay healthy because he's a huge part of his team. They gave him a huge contract last year, and he's kind of supposed to be the star that carries them over from the Jeter era and on, because besides Ellsbury, who's your next star? I mean, A-Rod, obviously. Do we really have to talk about him?
He was hitting seventh, I mean, yeah, he had 1 hit in the first game.
He was 1 for 2 with a walk in the first game, yeah.
And he went 0 for yesterday, right?
Yeah, he went 0 for yesterday.
Yeah. I'm kind of tired of talking about him. I think like we talked about before, we predicted like if the Yankees could get 15 home runs and 65, 70 RBIs out of him this year, I think you have to sign up for that, especially with the contract you're paying him. But I think you're right. I think he's kind of the next star attraction at this point, just a name value only, if only for intrigue and for the storyline factor, because obviously New York knows about him, but then when you travel on the road, you're going to have all the reporters asking him the questions, and I'm sure he's going to be a good soldier and talk about it, keep repeating how sorry he is and for all his mistakes, which you have to give him credit. He has. He's stood up and said he's made mistakes, but
the fact that he's getting, sorry to cut you off.
No,
the fact that he's getting these standing ovations. I mean, I know he got one in spring training. I saw the other day, the opening day, he gets one.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
No,
I don't know. What are people thinking? I mean, I understand, everyone, the whole cliche, America's about second chances. This is like his 10th chance.
You know what it is? You root for the laundry. That's what it is. You just forget that he's Alex Rodriguez, number 13. You just root for the pinstripes, because you hope that as a Yankee fan, you need to have him in the lineup. If you have him and he's healthy and he's contributing, I think all's forgiven. Honestly, I mean, listen, if A-Rod's hitting 280 in July, with 10, 12 home runs by that time, I think Yankee fans are gonna rejoice and cheer him every at bat. But if he's not doing well, if he's slumping, if he is late to pitches, if he can't catch up to the 93 mile per hour fastball like he used to, then you're gonna hear the jeers and the boos. But another guy that we didn't talk about who's pitching for the Yankees tonight is another big X factor is Sabathia. What are we expecting out of Sabathia this year? I mean, what do you think, Antonio, that really realistically Sabathia can go and give going forward?
Well, we know Sabathia is not going to be the dominant pitcher he once was. He's gone through the injuries. I know he had a knee injury. He needs to find himself in terms of being able to work counts and not try and dominate with his fastball, because he's not going to be able to do that anymore. I'm not expecting him to be his old self and have these dominating performances, but if he can give you 5-6 innings of a few run ball, like not give up that big inning, not feel like he's overwhelmed, and he's just got to settle in. It's going to be a different role for him. This is the first time in I think 6 years maybe that CC hasn't started opening day, so I think he's kind of realized that that things are turning into a new era, and he's not going to have to be that guy. So maybe that does take a little bit of pressure off of him. But I just don't think you can expect him to be the dominant CC Sabathia we used to see.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's definitely a different Sabathia that he's going to have to be now. Doesn't have that 96 to 98 mile per hour fastball to rely on anymore, but he's going to have to pitch more with guile and more with movement, which I think he is capable of. He says he feels healthy. Obviously he had the arthroscopic surgery in the offseason, and he feels better. He did gain some weight back, which he's always been better, with the weight gain. I mean, you look at guys in their career like David Wells and obviously Colon, who's one of the bigger pitchers in the game, and these guys have rubber arms and they pitch for a while. So maybe the weight gain will help Sabathia in the long term stay healthy. But yeah, you're right. I think Sabathia really just needs to give the Yankees some kind of life and some kind of effort. Obviously he's not going to be, I don't think, the dominant starter that he was of 3-4 years ago. But can he be a serviceable number 3 pitcher, which they're asking him to be? I think he could, but if Tanaka does end up going down, let's say, one bad pitch and he's out, and then you move everyone else up and he becomes the number 2 pitcher, that changes a lot of the dynamics, because now you're relying on Pineda to be your 1, you get Sabathia 2, then you got Evaldi 3, Warren 4, and then question mark 5. So, that really does change a lot. So that's why I was really surprised the Yankees didn't get anybody in the offseason to, I'm surprised they didn't go in after Shields. I really am. I thought Shields would have been a really good fit for the Yankees, especially since he was, he's pitched in the AL East before. He's just used to postseason experience.
I think Evaldi's going to be the wild card.
You think
I've
so?
heard good things about him. I know you've talked good about him, said good things. I've heard that he's a younger guy, which is obviously what the Yankees need. I think he could be the wild card. That was the Prado trade, right? They traded away Prado for Evaldi.
Yes, that was with the Marlins, right? Yep.
I mean, I guess you could Prado, Headley, I don't know, but I think that the Yankees they need to find themselves, because this is, like, I keep saying that, but this is such a different team. It's weird to not see Derek Jeter out there. Honestly, as a Yankee fan, it's probably the weirdest thing. Like, I've been watching the guy since can even comprehend what the game of baseball was. So for me to see these Yankees, it's already starting to feel weird. They're going to have to find themselves and just start to learn how to play, I guess, a new style of game. They got to get younger. And Cashman, he spends the money, but the farm system is just so questionable. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, really. It's going to be a weird year. That's the only way I could put it. It's going to be strange.
Yeah. It's definitely a new era for the Yankees, because gone are the days of the core four, gone are the days that you have, the George Steinbrenner era where, God forbid they went on a 3-game losing streak, someone was getting fired, or they were going to make a big trade for somebody, or take on a big contract. I don't think that's Cashman's way anymore. I think Cashman was really kind of, obviously he's overshadowed by, the aura that was George Steinbrenner. So now this is really his imprint on the team. And I think Cashman does want to go younger, evident by not signing, these 31, 32-year-old players this offseason and try to go younger. But while doing that, you're taking risks with these younger players, like with the Gregorius, with the Evaldi, because you don't know exactly what you're getting from these guys. You're hoping, you're basically, buying low for a high reward, hopefully. So going forward, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think, and I know, I don't want to take you off because you're a Yankee fan and everything, but I think this can turn into a Met town really quickly, especially with this young pitching staff that they have. I really think it could really become a big Met town.
I told you, yesterday I turned the Met game on before I turned the Yankee game on. I just think they're a more compelling story, more entertaining, in terms of what they have to offer, because they have the youth and they have. What it comes down to is that the Mets have more potential, and that grabs my eye more than watching the Yankees kind of struggle through the season. I don't know. I just find the Mets like a much more fun team. It's almost like when you have less pressure, the players are a little bit looser, and the Mets, they haven't had a success in a long time, and I think they're almost ready. When I say almost ready, I mean compete for a World Series title. But I do think they're gonna, be right there in the playoff race in the end of the year.
I hope so. Listen, I want to have high expectations that this team is just going to be, hopefully competing for a second wild card spot. Right now, as currently constituted, I think they're probably more in the 83 to 85 win season, which is an improvement because the last two seasons they've won, I think around 77, 79, I believe. But I want to see, obviously every year I want to see kind of like a 5-win increment. So I think that if they can get to 84, 85 this year, that'd be good. That'll definitely keep them in contention in September. But I think the Mets, if they are looking in July before the trade deadline and they're a couple games over 500. Do I think Sandy Alderson will make a deal? I think he will. I think he definitely is kind of waiting in the wings because he actually has never traded since he's been the Met GM. He hasn't traded for any major league talent. He's always traded for minor league guys, or he's traded away major league talent for minor league guys, I should say. So
Ray is for Syndergaard.
Yep.
There's an example.
That was a big one, and obviously that was the Syndergaard and Darno deal. Beltran for Wheeler, guys like that. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun season. I just want a compelling season. I want people to come out to Citi Field. I don't want to be me and my buddy the only ones at Citi Field that can hear ourselves. I want there to be electricity. I want to hear the Harvey chants. I want to see people come out with the Grom wigs. I want to see all that, and I really think that Citi Field could be a tremendous home field advantage for the Mets because now it's a couple years into the having the ballpark open. They're more used to the dimensions. They did move the fences in again in right center, so hopefully that helps right a little bit because that's his alleyway right there. So I just hope for I really hope for a nice season for the Mets. I really do. And the Yankees, to me, is a crapshoot. It really is. And I heard someone on the other another radio station the other day saying that the Yankees could be a 75-win team or a 90-win team, depending on what way the ball goes for them. And that's really that's a huge difference.
By the ball, I hope they mean the injuries because I hope that's what they meant. Because honestly, if the Yankees stay healthy, they're going to reach. I think they're going to be on that higher, level of that range. If you're saying 90 to 75, I think if they stay healthy, they could get close to 90 wins. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think they're going to really have to either pull off another trade or hopefully have big years, and healthy years from Teixeira, Beltran, McCann, and Ellsbury. Those guys, those four guys especially are going to be key, especially because they're batting in the middle of the order. But yeah, you're right. I really think that they have to stay healthy and they have to compete. And the Red Sox are going to be a tough team to beat. I was surprised that they lost to the Phillies last night. Actually, Jeff Francoeur with a big home run. Where's Jeff Francoeur been? My goodness. I mean, I remember him with the Braves and then the Mets, and forget all that time. But the Phillies, are going to be a bad team. And I actually tweeted this out earlier. The Braves swept the Marlins. They're
really?
They're 3-0. And if I were to tell you the Braves would have been 3-0 after all their fire sales this whole offseason, trading away.
They just traded Kimbrel the other day, right?
To get rid of, absolutely. They traded Kimbrel and Melvin Upton. He's not BJ anymore. He's lost his title to BJ. Melvin Upton. He's so bad, his name is Melvin. So, apologize to anybody named Melvin. But, but yeah, they lost Kimbrel. They traded away Gaddis. The only leftovers they have now is, Freddie Freeman at first, Simmons at short. They signed Nick Markakis to a 4-year deal, and they have some good young pitching, but they swept the Marlins, in Miami too, which really was surprising. I would not have guessed that at all. I probably would have lost a lot of money in Vegas if I was betting on that.
Matt, we got to get to a quick break. We're going to come back and talk more baseball for our listeners. A guy on Sunday Night Baseball last night had a big game, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because it was an unreal performance. So we'll be right back.